Welcome explorers to another old world exploration. In this video we're going to be taking a look at Springfield, Ohio, one of many Springfields in the United States of America, which makes it difficult to do a search on these buildings, but I've done my best and I've got a file for you. Population at the turn of the 20th century, just under 40,000 people. Not a large city by any means, but as you can see in this intro and as you will see throughout this video, a location riddled with old world buildings. Thanks for being here. So where exactly is Springfield, Ohio? Well, let's take a look. You can see it here nestled in between Columbus and Dayton. And we've hit a lot of these locations on the channel previously: Indianapolis, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, as well as these two, Toledo, Detroit. So we're really an old world hotbed in this part of North America. And it's difficult because there are so many Springfields in the States. I think if you do a search, over 30 of them will appear, and even in this map alone, we've got a good handful of Springfields. So, difficult to do a search on this stuff. One interesting aspect of Springfield, Ohio that I could find was the naming it as a home city. Reason being because many fraternal organizations, Masonic Lodge, Knights of Pythias, and Oddfellows built homes for orphans and aged members of their orders. Very interesting, and you'll see the structures as we go through the slide here. And a quick look again at the population demographic shows that we were not really looking at a very large city in the modern day, and really not much to it in 1900. Let's take a look at the architecture. So story-wise, since there's not a lot to go on, and obviously I do apologize if you're local or know more about the area, I certainly welcome your input in the chat here. But you can see here the remains of a very well established looking small city with that classic old world architecture. Just an example of some of the houses you would have seen in Springfield, Ohio. Of course, Springfield, the elusive town home to the Simpsons. Looking like we have a county courthouse over here. We'll take a closer look at as we move forward. County building in front of us. We're seeing all the signs. We're seeing the brick paved streets. We're seeing the railroad tracks. We're seeing the thick foundation stones, and the buildings made of some very, very solid materials. And in the modern day, many of these are still doing very, very well. And even in the postcards, you can see all the structures with that blistering stone look to them. I really wouldn't expect much from a small city like this, but when you come to research the old world, you start to realize how prevalent this type of architecture really was. Here you can see the very prominent fountain at the center of town. Next up we have the Big 4 station, or Big 4 depot, and this was the train station for the Cleveland, Cincinnati, Chicago, St. Louis railway line. Built between November 22nd, 1909 and opened for service in 1911. So just under 2 years to build this. Demolished in 1969 to make way for a bridge for Route 72's bypass. And this giving us a look at it in color before it was demolished. Quite a unique looking structure, reminding me of some of the other Union stations except for the large hip roof on top. Makes it look quite unique. But the poor thing only got about 50 years. And we see that so often here in this research, these very, very short lifespans for these very, very sturdy buildings. This is the Bushnell building. Still stands here, we have it lit up at night. This modern day photograph giving you an idea of how decorative the front is on this. Nice looking building. The Bushnell Mansion. The Bushnell name coming from this gentleman here. Prominent politician and businessman partially responsible for the International Harvester Company. And you have to wonder, a lot of these people, are they just inheriting wealth and riches? Often I think it's the case, and what we're looking at is just as a backstory for us, and we get a ridiculous mustache attached to it. But you're seeing all the hallmarks of an old world. You have to wonder, like, who were the laborers that did all this work? There's really no mention of them. Hardly any mention of the architects. We have the county building again. You can see the quality of construction here. This postcard from 1908. So you have to wonder. You really have to wonder who's building like this at that early time period. Or you begin to understand that the historical timeline is a distortion. And we are looking at inherited architecture and infrastructure. And a resetting of our existence. St. Raphael's Church still stands to this day. You certainly don't see them build them like this today. But of course, at the turn of the 20th century, this was commonplace to build in such a manner. Even though our population eclipses the population from that time period, and our technology eclipses the technology from that time period, we are being forced to accept that this is all just built with blood, sweat, and toil, and robber baron money, or wealthy industrialists, I should say. This is the St. John's Evangelical Lutheran Church, and you could see the difference between now and then. You can see a lot of the decorative features have been removed from these, and the lines have been smoothed. And that is a common occurrence. We just find that quite often. It's the city building and the fountain up front. The city building here, which is an interesting combination of city hall or city building and then market. You saw it in the intro, and it's a double-ended building. This one really confused me when I first started doing the research. I thought they'd shortened this and taken the clock away, but you can see from this photograph, this is a series of structures that's capped, if you will, with this type of building on either side, and one of them has the clock tower and one of them does not. You can see back here just the tip of that one there. So that's a very unique and interesting structure. And if you're in the area, I would definitely be checking this area out. We do have a college in the area. A deeper understanding of the post-secondary institutions and the architecture and infrastructure involved with those is needed, I think, when you look at all the old structures. It's quite overwhelming to assume that these were built when they were, by who they were, and the large volume of them. This is the Wittenberg College, all part of it. You can see this magnificent structure here. Let's get a little closer on that one. The recitation hall. And it's to me, that's just frivolous. That is just over-the-top frivolous. Reminding me of the Friends University in Wichita. Spectacular structure, really not making any sense. Again, small population, magnificent architecture. The story just repeats itself, and I know these videos do tend to repeat themselves, and the purpose is to show you the different architecture in these different locations and share the same story. Well, here we have a construction photo. I'm not sure what to make of that, to be honest with you. Is there a re-roofing going on here? Is this to be believed at all? I've learned not to trust a lot of these construction photos. This is the old courthouse. We saw the side of it earlier. You can see here, 37 years it stood for. Come on. That's all this thing was good for, was 37 years, and they had to take it down? And I suppose so. They had to make way for the smaller courthouse? I don't know. We saw this in the intro as well. The courthouse. The dome's kind of hidden up there, but there is a dome up there. It's part of the Crowell Collier business. We have an older drawing that says it's the Farm and Fireside building. So is there a repurposing going on here? You have that very early time period again, the horse-drawn trolley cars and brick-paved streets, and you have the lower level, which has been railed off so people could walk by on the sidewalks, not fall down into the lower level. Take a little bit more of a look at this Crowell company. This looks like it's the same structure but maybe been added onto. And this is the Crowell Publishing massive structure here as well. So, interesting. Publishing company, Crowell. If you know any more about that, throw that in the comments. Springfield Sunday News and newspapers had what you may think is a bank, but no, it's a newspaper company. And they did have a fire in 1902. There's only a few photographs that I could find. This is one. This is interesting. I'm not sure what to make of the gentlemen gathered here. Strange clustering. And here as well, almost looks... This is a suspicious photograph to be sure. Hard to believe fire would do that. So similar to a lot of the evidence we've seen in other places of the destruction of these massive structures. Is this a covering up of the old world, and in the process a resetting of the narrative? This is what we think here on this channel, and we think it certainly is worth exploring. There's that photograph one more time. 1902 they had their fire. We'll move forward until we get to the homes that were mentioned at the beginning of the video. This is the Oddfellows home, and I guess they were just up for building castles. Amazing looking structures. The roof on this is very, very intricate. And that would be the Oddfellows. The library is not to be outdone. No longer stands. Of course, you're going to tear this down. Looking very Richardsonian, Romanesque, as they'll say. But even the pattern work here. We have to ask questions, folks. We have to question the narrative. Let's not take history at face value. Not to be outdone, we have the Masonic home. This is the Rickley Memorial Hospital. One of two Masonic homes. The other one would be this one. There's a better postcard for you. So, the Oddfellows and the Masons were benevolently providing homes for the young and the aged within their organization. There must have been just so many within their organization. The Memorial Hall, here's what it looks like nowadays. I don't know if it still stands. I just grabbed this. But it's certainly dilapidated and ready to fall. Why on earth you would neglect a building like that in such a small town where, again, you have to factor in the demolition, the cleanup, and then the rebuilding of new facilities. And again, it stops making sense. It stopped making sense quite a while ago. We have a post office. This Springfield really ticking all the old world boxes. I don't know how you walk around in small city America and looking at all these castles and scratch your head. You know, there's a reason why they tore half of them down, or most of them down, I should say. So as to not pique our suspicion. This is the second post office, and this one also showing some interesting construction signs. Let's get a little closer on the eagle. Built right into the brickwork itself. And not to be outdone by the other gentlemen, the Knights of Pythias have a home built. And they are, looks like maybe they use the same contractor as the other two. Knights of Pythias home. Not a great, and there's not a lot of these photographs. I'm showing you postcards. I tried to find photographs before I show postcards, so difficult to find. But we do have a wonderful photograph of the Knights of Pythias themselves, these brave and fearless knights, and their sworn oaths. Alright, let's move on to a high school. The Springfield High School. Not the only spectacular high school in Springfield. We also have this baby. The new high school. So I guess they replaced this one with that one. And it looks like it still stands. I have just a hint of what this high school in small town Springfield, Ohio looks. What do you think? Is this a fishy narrative? I sure think so. Alright, thanks for joining me.